whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast. We got Pags on the road, Stat Guy gone for the rest of the week. And we've been talking off air about the tush push because if you're watching on Roku, our professional sports show that's on that channel, they were kind of losing their mind about it. And we talked a little bit about it on this show, but we got to go a little further down the rabbit hole because it seems ridiculous to get rid of this play.
I couldn't agree more. And I am not being biased because I'm an Eagles fan. Like I feel like that this is a play that happens not just on the one or like just to get a first down. This happens a lot during a game.
Yep.
And there's a few reasons why this has occurred now. It's to make it kind of blunt, the reason why that it occurs in other parts of the game rather than just on the goal line or trying to get a first down is defenders now aren't tackling.
Mm-hmm.
They're going after the ball. So when a defender is trying to rip the ball away and it becomes a struggle to try to get the ball, he's not bringing the guy down.
Yep.
So that's when you start to have a scrum of sorts, where the scrum starts to get involved. You have some defense players, you have some offensive players, and now they're pushing a pile. Now it becomes a pile that moves one way or another. The problem with that is that if you were to ban the tush push and say that no player can push another player, the moment that there becomes the struggle for the ball and another player gets involved, that play becomes dead.
Exactly.
It has to die right there. So it really becomes it becomes very subjective. Like, is he pushing the guy, or is the one guy actually trying to block the guy in front of him and stuff like that? Like, it becomes very questionable in total. And that's why I feel like that you cannot ban this play. This is part of football now. You are able to push your pile or your friend or your running back or whatever you want towards your goal. Like, that's, who cares how you get there as long as you get there.
Exactly.
If my guys are stronger than your guys, then that's what's happening. Now, the rule is still, you can't pull a guy.
Yes.
You are not allowed. You can only push. You cannot pull him. So that is actually still an illegal play. And ultimately, that should be an illegal play. If you are in front of your guy and you're trying to pull him closer to you, that's not a football play. But if you're pushing and you're moving, listen, that's what it's all about. We scratch for these inches. We claw for these inches. You know what I mean? And that's a real statement there. That's a very real statement.
And the thing is it's exactly that, right? Like you would no longer be able to assist your player downfield, right? And that happens every game, multiple times during the game. So maybe you don't like this one play, but eliminating it eliminates your ability to assist your receiver or running back downfield where they're starting to lose momentum and one of those offensive linemen catch up to the pile and keep shoving. I mean, that happens all the time. So you're talking about eliminating something like that. And I don't know.
In fact, I actually have something that they should add to the rule.
Okay. What do you got?
My personal opinion is that if the defense is winning the battle, they are granted 1 yard backwards.
Oh,
so
if
the defense, instead of the forward progress,
I got you.
If you are having a scrum and the defense is winning the scrum, they are granted 1 yard back before the play is dead.
Yeah, I could get into that.
Because you can't just have it all offensive. You've got to have some leeway for the defense. So ultimately, as they're wrestling for the ball, and then you have some offensive players, some defensive players, when the defense is winning that battle now, because it's allowed to happen, they're granted 1 yard back before the play becomes dead. So it's that, and then they can say, all right, well, they were won the scrum. They may have pushed it back 6 yards. They're not getting 6 yards. They're going to be granted 1 yard. So then that's where instead of you getting all the forward progress, you actually get forward progress minus 1 yard.
Yeah, no, I could get into that. Absolutely.
So, and I think that's which is going to come into play a little bit more now too, because I don't know if anybody noticed, but they changed the rule about they had the chip in the ball. That chip is in the ball now, and they have enough cameras. That was why they added that second camera in the sky. I don't know if anybody's noticed that either.
Yep.
But you had the low camera, and now you got the high camera. And that high camera is there specifically for the ball. So that is on the downward, and wherever that ball is, I mean, it's obviously if it's being a pass, that camera can't keep up with that pass.
Yeah,
but
sure.
ultimately, it's supposed to be 100% over the ball, so that that it can be and determine with all the other cameras exactly ball location. Yes. So you're not going to see anymore that's going to be like they're going to be able to go to a replay, a quick replay, and know exactly where that ball is.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things that they announced on NFL Network, right, is that they're getting away from the chain gang. And the chain gang will still be there, right? It'll be the backup. In case for whatever reason it loses track of the ball or whatever, they would.
Well, they need the cameras. They need the cameras there. So they want the cameras on the side. So the chain gangs are still going to be involved because wherever they do that, they want the camera looking down the line, 100%.
Sure. I'm just saying it's going to be a backup role. So it's going to be determined by the cameras now. But if for whatever reason the chip malfunctions or whatever, you have the chain gang there to bring the chains out if you need it. Not that they bring the chains out a ton anyway. I mean, let's be honest, it happens pretty rare anymore. But, now with the camera, they're just going to be a backup role, but they'll still be on the sideline.
So here's the one thing that I am unsure, and only because I have been to the facility and I have built a football.
Yep.
The one thing that I wonder about now is, so you're holding the football and the chip is on the NFL side. Wherever the NFL logo is in the bladder, that's where the chip is. So are they determining, so if that's where the chip is it always a north-south facing ball? Or is it wherever the chip is, be where the line is? And it's almost like that portion of the ball is the nose of the ball, kind of. That it's never a forward-facing ball. It's now always a side-facing ball. And that's going to determine a few inches of space, realistically. Saying that, okay, because you have a ball. A football now is what? I think it's like what, 14 inches long?
Something like that. So yeah, I mean, if you're saying that it's sitting right here,
correct.
Yeah, if it's sitting like this, I mean, you're, 4 inches, 5 inches?
Yeah. I'm saying that it's probably 6 inches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't know. I haven't measured the length of a football, but my thought is that it's probably a foot long, or it's 14 inches long, and it's pretty wide in the bladder. So, which kind of does two different things. It's like, so if the NFL and the chip is on your side of you as you're holding the ball, does that become, like, okay, that's the spot that they see it? Or is it, all right, we now have that portion and it's like we're going to flip it. We're going to flip it north and south, so you automatically get those extra 4 or 5 inches. It's going to be a very interesting way to see this.
Yeah, I mean, it almost seems like it should have 2 chips, one in the tips.
Well, the problem with having it in the tips is that there's no way that you can control it in the bladder. So, like I guess they could, but it's got to be a fairly small chip, because think about this: this bladder is round inside. They're not filling up a pigskin with air. And there's a bladder inside.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I think what you'd do is you'd put the chip. I mean, you couldn't do it in the tips though, because when people spike the ball and stuff, it'd probably wipe the chip out. But if it was out towards the edge. So yeah, I don't know. Like that's going to be interesting to see how that is. I'll have to read up on that and see, because I'm sure they put out how they're doing it. Like,
I mean, and not only that, I got it, and not to cut you off.
No, yeah.
That the chip may have a compass in it. It's funny as that may sound, where it's like, okay, it's sideways. It knows that the chip is sideways rather than forward, north and south.
Yeah, definitely Elmer's glue. Yeah.
So actually, the chip in the bladder actually is put into a pouch, and that pouch is 100% sealed. So it's a small pouch about that big, and that pouch is always at the NFL symbol. Now, and they have their way of determining this. Like there's a big way to do this. When we made the football, there's a lot of portion of this that's automated. However, every football is handmade. So the actual pigskin is done, and the whole stitching of the football is done by hand. And I went through the process. You could find this on my YouTube. If you go back and you go into my YouTube and search Wilson, you'll see it was me and a Kansas City Chiefs fan that got to visit the facility in Ada, Ohio.
Nice.
And it's amazing how few people it takes to make all of the footballs that come out of that facility. It really was. It really was an amazing time and a lot of fun to be a part of. Of course, they didn't use my football for any of the Super Bowl festivities because my football sucked. But
did you get to keep it at least?
I did. They gave me the football, so it was.
Like, it was not hit our standards. Please take this.
So I was like, they're like, no, we're not even going to give you this one because this one sucks. And here's one that looks good because we're not going to send you out of this facility with a ball that looks like what you just made.
I like it. No, that will be interesting to see how it is they implement that. I mean, obviously they have that worked out, so we'll have to look it up and see what the rule is there of how it is they're gonna determine. I mean, and some of it may be the cameras, right? Like they can see how the ball was placed when they hit the ground, right? So maybe
I also suspect one of the things that the competition committee hasn't heard from yet, and it's going to come up. I suspect that they are going to have the backwards hash. And what that means is that they're going to give a leeway on the out of bounds especially when it comes to quarterbacks. And this is going to be the Patrick Mahomes rule, where if he's going to start to try to turn up instead of going out of bounds, like they're going to give like the hash marks inside that hash mark on the outside. They're going to have it's almost like an unspoken hash mark.
Sure.
Out of bounds, so that when they get out of bounds, if they have gone past that hash mark and then get pushed or whatever, and that's where the penalty is. But as long as you're within that 1 yard, a half a yard on either side of the out of bounds line, you're not going to get the penalty like you think you should.
I mean, that's good, right? I mean, that's something that's been an issue because, I mean, we watched quite a few penalties where guys were still in bounds.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, roughing the passer. Really? Because them feet were still in. So that sure looks like a legal play to me, but they're so over the top protecting quarterbacks that, some of these penalties are happening. Well,
they're so over the top protecting certain quarterbacks. They're not over the top protecting every quarterback. I mean, yeah, the perfect example of that was Cam Newton.
Yeah.
They were killing Cam Newton all the time. And he never got any of the calls that some of these other quarterbacks got. So, and Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes is the worst offender of it. Now, is he the one that's able to get away with it most? Yes. Is he the one that does it most? Yes. It's like Trey Young in basketball when they played against the Sixers. They had the rule that if you touched the guy shooting, then it was a foul on you. And ultimately, so Trey Young would jump into him and then shoot the shot.
Harden would do that all the time.
Absolutely. So did Michael Jordan sometimes. Like he was great at that, like just going into it. But Trey Young used it well beyond what the rule was, so much so they had to change the rule.
Yep.
So now you can't do that anymore. It's kind of the same situation.
Why I brought up Harden in that is he was also part of that rule change because he would do the little leg kick out to make sure he got contact.
Right.
So it's just like, come on, guys.
Yeah, you're not even touching any part of his body, but because his foot, was extended 4 feet, it happens to touch, your pinky. Now all of a sudden you got a foul.
Yep. Yeah, no, it was pretty ridiculous. It was pretty ridiculous. And it's funny because there are some quarterbacks that really don't get the calls. Cam, definitely one of them. Any of the mobile guys, right? The true mobile guys, like Lamar doesn't get those most of the time. Jalen doesn't get a ton of them, right? The one that surprises me that really doesn't get the calls, that gets absolutely murdered a lot, is Carr. Carr gets hammered, and he never gets those calls. Like, I don't know what it is about the league, but they're just like, you know what? That guy needs to die. Because we've watched him get rocked and no flags.
So, and the other thing that I kind of, they have to determine a better way of these helmet calls to quarterbacks. I almost wish that they almost put around like a neck guard around the quarterbacks a little bit. Something that would be like 3 inches off.
Okay.
To kind of protect the quarterbacks' heads. I understand what they're trying to do. And they're trying to protect the quarterback. And when you're swimming and you're getting pushed and you're getting blocked and everything, and you're trying to reach for somebody and you accidentally graze his helmet.
That should not
because that should not be a penalty. But there's no way that they'd be able to kind of prove that. It's like, how do you do that? Now, so they do have the targeting rule in college, but
you realistically can. And especially because most of the league uses the Rydell helmets. Rydell actually has a helmet for the NFL that has sensors all through it. So they can track the amount of impact and everything that is involved from it. In fact, I'll try and get my buddy Joe on here. He is a rep for Rydell. And he'd be able to walk us through a little bit more of how that works. But they can actually track all that information.
So, but at that point, is it a matter of, does it work off of touch? I mean, is that how that operates? So, like, if somebody slaps it, now that's a contact point.
Yeah.
But if somebody happens to rub their hand across it,
well, it may not.
What level of force? What level of force is required for that? So that would be actually good to know and see how things are going about like that, because there was a lot this year of the face masks that did not get called. Mm-hmm. That referees did not call face masks. And I feel like that specifically should be an eye in the sky penalty now.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I say, like, if they were to do something where they made the Rydell that has the sensors, the official helmet, so that everybody had it or whatever, it does test severity of impact, right? So, I mean, the NFL would be able to list some sort of threshold of what it is they think is acceptable. So if you did brush the helmet, but it was under the threshold, it wouldn't be a flag, right?
Right.
So like that would be one where maybe the guys on the field throw the flag. New York immediately calls down, hey, pick it up. Right. Or the other way around. Right. Like maybe they're just like, yeah, that's a flag. Cause I mean, the eye in the sky is going to be a thing. So if it's going to be a thing, then let's fine tune it. Like the technology's out there. Let's use it.
Well, I agree. I just don't know how quickly are they able to get the information from the chips in the helmet to a computer.
It's real time.
It
is real time.
That's
yeah.
Okay.
So the way they track it is it's called Zebra, and they actually track all that data in real time. It's the same system they track the footballs with. So that's how they know rotation speed and throw speed and all of that. It's all through that Zebra Wi-Fi network. It's why if you are broadcasting on the field, you have to stay away from certain radio frequencies. If you have wireless microphones, cameras, all of that, there's specific radio frequencies you have to stay away from because that's what they broadcast on. But all of that information is real time.
Got you. And I figured that's why, like, because they now have chips in everybody's jersey. They know exactly how fast everybody goes. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen when you're looking at a player, it's a round disc that's usually up around their shoulder. Mm-hmm. And that's where they keep the chip. The chip is actually in the jersey itself. And then, like I said, and that's how they determine their speed and everything else, like how fast somebody's going and how quickly that the closing speed that you ever wonder how they have how do you determine the percentage of how they're going to make this catch? Like, it's like that all goes by, hey, this is what the quarterback did. This is how fast he threw the ball. This is how fast he needed to run to get to this point. Realistically, that the odds of this all happening is at like 18%.
Well, and it grabs your defenders that are around him, right? Because they all have chips too. So I mean, all of that plays in the arc of the ball. Like it's actually pretty awesome. Like when you look at all the data points, you're just like, that is amazing. There's no way I should be a MLB. Well, I take that back. If I get to pick my GM for the Mariners, let me give it a shot because I can't do any worse. But yeah, no, I mean, all the data points. That's why I always like seeing the AWS.
That's kind of what it is. The analytics on how to
next gen stats. Awesome. Like you can nerd out on so much of that.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, that's some of the cool stuff about this type of thing, and that's why I like that the NFL is starting to go this route a little bit, where they're going to determine the first downs, they're going to be determining the end zone. Really, that's the big one. Like, has a person gone over the line before his knee hits and stuff like that? Like, I'll be honest, I still feel that the first touchdown in the Super Bowl was Dotson's. I felt like he was way over the line before he hit that knee, before his knee hit. But I also felt that they didn't argue it because, they just said that, and that Caesars would have lost a lot of money. That the Caesars would have lost a lot of money if Dotson got the first touchdown.
Sure.
Not that Jalen Hurts. They probably lost a lot of money with Jalen Hurts too, but
nah, the odds for Jalen Hurts wasn't very high, right? Because if you're close,
right, if they're on the 1 yard line, that's a touchdown for Jalen Hurts. So I can appreciate that, but I thought that there's a lot of people that had Jalen Hurts as their guy.
Yeah.
Dotson was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like a plus 3,000 for a first touchdown, if not more. So how many people are really going to have that? Somebody betting like $200 on that's going to win. What? Plus 3,000 would be like 60 grand.
Yeah.
So I would have. That would have been a great bet to take.
Right. And then when they're like, "Oh, he's down," you're like, "No."
Well, that was the video I made. That was exactly the video I made at the Super Bowl. I'm like, that the reason why is that because Caesars would have lost a lot of money, and it's the Caesars Superdome.
Yeah, exactly. I get. Yeah, no, there is definitely times that calls come through that really feed into the tinfoil hat crew. You're just like, you know?
So, but anyways, it was interesting that when I saw that they were doing with the chip, and it's I have to laugh at Mac and Sonia about the tush push. I mean, it's just like and what gets me is that there are these other teams that use it that just don't know how to use it.
Exactly.
And I mean, he explains, I mean, he pretty much went into detail saying, hey, we practice this a lot. We spend a good amount of time on this.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we are so good at it because we've spent the time, we've invested the energy, and it's not automatic. As much as we like to think that it is, it's not automatic.
Well, no, I mean, there was almost a 10% drop in effectiveness this last year. So
yeah, went from 92% to 82%.
Yeah, right.
And then across the board in the NFL, the tush push is only at like 46%.
Yeah.
So and that's attributed probably mostly because of how good we run it. Because these other teams that don't know how to run it don't run it well.
Yep.
And immediately it's a fail. Ask Buffalo.
Exactly. And they have the personnel to actually pull it off. Because it's not like Josh Allen isn't a monster, right? Like that dude could absolutely do it. They have a solid offensive line. Like they have the personnel to be able to be successful at it. Like I wouldn't try it with a Bryce Young or a Matt Stafford or, type of, like, I just wouldn't do it, right? If you're undersized, it's not going to work. If you're a statue, probably not going to work. You're probably going to get hurt. But if you have the personnel, there's no reason that you can't make it happen. The only thing they should ban is probably the name. Call it something else. Just go back to calling it a QB sneak. Who cares? But, I mean, if you're going to ban anything, maybe the name because, that's dumb. But
yeah, I mean, they didn't call it. It was... I mean, it was the brotherly shove here in Philly. That was the call for it, And then once that got leaked, they changed the name of the play again, so it's not called the brotherly shove anymore.
Okay.
But that was a Nick Sirianni play. It was not done by Jordan Mailata. It was not done by Australians. Nick Sirianni is the architect of this play. And the reason why it works so well, it's kind of like the same thing with the Philly special. When you think about how that play worked and how that play works a good 80% of the time. The reason why it works 80% of the time is because the defense becomes lax.
Yep.
So now that, the Eagles have done it a couple times, and realistically, the exact same play was used by the Patriots in that game where Tom Brady did not catch the ball.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It was the exact same, but you could say it was a successful play. Just the problem was it was not executed to perfection because of Tom Brady not wanting to catch the ball and get tackled.
Yeah, because I mean the play was perfect. Like he was wide
correct.
Open. I mean,
wide open. It would have been a first down. It would have been a first down.
Yeah, I mean, even if he caught it at the line of scrimmage, it would have been a first down because there was no one around him.
Right. So that being said, it's like there have been plays in the NFL that have been high percentage plays that people were able to connect on. You know what I mean? Think about it. The extra point was as high a percentage of a play as you could possibly get. So much so they had to move it back. They're like, okay, we need to change this. We can't automatically give them a point. Yep. This is no longer able to be feasible. So we're going to do, the extra point is now going to be a 35-yard field goal. You know what I mean? So it's like you're going to kick it from the 20 or 25 and, that's really what it is. It's a 37-yard field goal because I think you're kicking it from the 20, right? But that's where they line up.
Yeah, I bet that's about where the ball's placed. Yeah. Yeah.
The 20-yard line, because you're trying to make it a 35, 37-yard field goal, and it's worth 1 point. So I get it. That makes sense, but it's still not. Yeah, but that was as automatic as you could get it. Like 97% or 98%, you were getting that 1 point.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Well, and this is exactly what I've been saying too. Don't ban it. Just get better. That's it.
Right. And the truth of the matter is that realistically, you could have anybody come be the quarterback for that play.
Exactly.
So you could have
snap. It doesn't matter.
Or let's change it. Let's say, okay, we're going to practice with a defensive lineman.
Sure.
To get the snap and push forward.
Get the fridge. Let's go.
Right. I mean, I heard the story about that, about the fridge too, that was all done purposely by Mike Ditka as a smack in the face to Buddy Ryan.
Oh, okay.
That's why Buddy Ryan became the coach of the Eagles afterwards. He didn't want to work with Ditka anymore because of the fridge and the fact that they made the fridge score that touchdown in the Super Bowl and not Sweetness. It was like one of the things that was the regrets in the career of Walter Payton, that he was unable to score a touchdown, and it was all done because of the BS between Mike Ditka and Buddy Ryan.
Funny. I mean,
yeah,
fair enough. I mean, the fridge was such a ridiculous, nothing like having how tall was he? He was like 6'4" or something, like 350. Like, dude was a monster.
He was. And actually, I think about it, like he would have been just like average in this NFL.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, this NFL, like, I think about how much things have changed in 40 years. I mean, that was 1985. We're in 2025. Like 40 years ago, him being 6'3", 6'4", 350 pounds, and Buddy Ryan saying that he's out of shape. Like he's overweight and out of shape. What am I going to do with him?
Yeah.
And that's what kind of, he's like, he's not out of shape. Look, I'll use him as a running back here.
It worked.
And it worked. It worked.
It doesn't work for very far, but if you need 1 yard.
Right. I mean, think about Christian Okoye. I mean, he was a monster. He was a beast. Think of Derrick Henry. Like, he's in that same category there. Like, he's a beast because he's a bigger guy who knows how to, use his body to run the ball and throw people yards away, except like Cooper DeJean.
That's why I always loved watching the A-Train, Alstott, right? That dude ran as angry as you could run.
Right. He's blowing you up before you can blow him up.
He was running to contact. Like he's right. Like, I'm not trying to run around you. I'm going to run through you.
Right. But there again, that's where you had some great collisions.
Yes.
But when you had those types of collisions, actually, both those guys would get up. Like there were times when, you'd see Allstat run into, a linebacker or a safety, like hitting Dawkins hitting. You know what I mean? Dawkins could put a hit on him, and it would sting them both.
Oh,
you know what I mean? They both know that they got hit there.
Yep.
But that was part of the game. So
it was so much part of the game that both of those guys had neck rolls, right? Like they had the huge pad because they're like, I know I'm running into you, and I know I'm hitting my helmet.
Right. And I wish that they would have some of that still. I guess that the reason why they don't is because of the movement. You lose some of the movement, or you lose some of the. Yeah, and that's there's got to be a way to do that properly.
It wouldn't even work with pads today because everybody likes to wear these like tiny little pads now. that, it's not like back when I played when the pads were like pow, right? Like, now these guys are wearing, just a little bit bigger than, motorcycle, like dirt bike padding is
Right.
essentially what these guys are going out there in. And, so it maximizes mobility, but obviously the safety factor isn't quite the same as when you had these, monsters.
Right. So, I mean, they kind of did that they kind of explained that in Invincible. He's like, you need those shoulder pads. He's like, those are quarterback pads. You can't run. You can't play in them. And he's like, does it really matter? He's like, I'm gonna get killed anyways. I'm gonna get killed. Who cares? You know what I mean? It's obviously you don't care. You couldn't even spell my name right. So, I mean, so there is something to be said for that. I mean, hey, one of the guys who played for Seattle and played for us for a season, Michael Bennett. He didn't like he put in knee pads as his shoulder pads.
Yes,
that's what he'd use. He didn't like the pads. He didn't want to have pads on. He wanted to feel the pain, and he was a monster. That guy was just angry, angry all the time. And he did well here. Yeah, he was like, as much of an asshole as he was, he was like very on, like, listen, I'm in this for the money. Give me the money. I don't care. I know how good I am. Give me the money. And he was really good.
When it came to football, he wasn't wrong, right?
No, he was a beast. He was a beast, and he knew how to hit somebody and tackle somebody. And like he said, he didn't have the pads on. Like he said, he barely wore pads. Mm-hmm. Like it's like he looks like that he needed to have some padding in there, but he didn't want it. He just wanted to put in, I said, literally, I think thigh pads as the shoulder pads.
Yeah, I mean, he had actual shoulder pads, but like it was the smallest things I've ever seen. Like it was ridiculous. But I'm just laughing at the ridiculous stuff that's happening in the chat too.
I don't see anything in the chat because I'm going off of my phone today. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, you're not missing anything. It's just it's funny. It's just it's everybody going back and forth. So.
Well, I tell you what. While everybody is fighting in the chat, I'm going to give you guys a quick little tour of the place that I'm staying at today.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's so I'm here with Mascot Troy, and if anybody who is a Steelers fan, I'm sure there's a couple people in Pittsburgh from the chat. He is a diehard Pittsburgh fan in general. Like he is a Pirates fan, he is a Steelers fan, he is a Penguins fan. And he has a ton of memorabilia in this house. Like I said, I am one for history. I like history. I like seeing some of the stuff. When you think about going into a fan cave, this is his entire house is a fan cave, for lack of a better way of putting it. I mean, just starting with this thing right behind me. He took that off of the pole in the city when they had the parade for the Pirates in 1979. He's got bats. Yeah, we're gonna take a quick little tour of the house because it's a lot of stuff here. So the Pirates have won 5 championships. And the last one being 1979. He's got bats signed by everybody who was on the field.
Oh, that's amazing.
For the last out, and they're all signed. You know what I mean? They're all like, Bill Matlock right there.
That's awesome.
Like he's got, Dave Parker. So they've got all these different stuff. So he's got all these different pictures of everything that kind of happened from that day. They played against the Orioles in 1979. So he's got like all the banners and things like this. So kind of cool stuff. Every World Series ticket.
Oh, wow.
Like that. So that's in 1979 because it was a 7-game series. In 1971, look at how different the tickets are.
Oh, funny.
Like it's like
concert tickets.
They look like concert tickets, but they're from the World Series. So, and it's so kind of cool to see how big of a difference there was between that. And then, like, he's got like all this stuff over here. Like, he's got like it's a museum that I'm staying in.
That is cool.
Like all the signed. This is from the 1971 World Series. And then he's got like the 1960 World Series over here, like all the different stuff that he has, and then all of the World Series tickets.
I mean, that would have taken a while just to collect those things.
Yeah, I mean, he's been collected for 60 years. He's got like the pennant from the 1960. I mean, that was Mazeroski who hit the only, I think, not the only game-winning home run. Game 7. He was the Game 7 home run because Toronto also did it against the Phillies, but that was Game 6. This is an old Colby hat.
Wow. That is awesome.
So all this stuff, like all this. So and then of course, like I'm gonna go around. Like, not only like just everywhere you look, there's pictures and stuff, and rugs.
That is impressive.
And then of course, here I'm gonna turn the light on here. The Penguins room, which is light because he wound up selling a good amount of stuff. But like he's got like all the different stuff in here. The 5 Stanley Cups from them, and where was it? Here's the room for you. I'll show you. He went to Washington.
Good old UW.
So, and that's his flip-up glasses from the 70s, and his glove and stuff like that.
Jacket.
There's there you go. That's old school. So, and then, like I said, I'm staying here. I'm going to give you this hat back just because I don't want to carry it around. And I get to stay down here. So you come here and like, okay, you get to see a little bit of this stuff. All right, he's got Cowboys, Rams, NFC, this stuff. And then I got like. It's like all the Super Bowl stuff, the big terrible towel. I'm sleeping on a bed of Steelers stuff, Jack Lambert and Palomalu and all this other stuff. Yeah, that's exactly it. So it's like I'm like, all right, I'm stuck in here. It's all Steelers stuff, but he's got some quite cool stuff. He's got like all signed stuff, like this cool. Right here. It's like these are things that are kind of cool. And then of course he looks like Troy Polamalu, so he has like the Troy area here where the helmets. This is like actually a game-worn helmet and him right here and stuff like that. So he does.
You got
like
a bottle
I
of
said,
Head and Shoulders somewhere over there too.
Has he got a bottle of what?
Head and Shoulders.
Yeah, something like that. I guess. Yeah, he's got it. He's got the original bottle here. So he's got like here's all the different jerseys he's got and
Head and Shoulders.
Yeah, there it is. That's the bottle of Head and Shoulders. Signed by Troy.
I've been bald 40 years.
So it really is kind of awesome to be able to see that. Like he's got like the original like Pittsburgh bags.
That's like Taylor's travel bag.
Yeah,
this is a 90s carry-on that they found in the depths of the warehouse, and they gave it to me for Christmas a couple years ago.
So
there's some game worn shorts too.
Yeah, game worn and
issued, not ever worn.
Like these look fake.
Those are from my childhood.
Oh, gotcha.
The 60s, 70s, and 80s.
How about that?
That was actually my brother's, but 60s, 70s, and 80s.
So funny thing about that, because of the 80s.
There's my first buddy, Mike West, my first Steeler friend.
I got you.
Became my friend.
This is me, also 80s.
Oh, he's got a Seahawks one from the 80s.
Nice. Yeah, you don't ever get rid of those. They're just part of your life.
Exactly. And then he's got like all of these helmets.
Oh, those are all real ones from the 70s, and the face masks are correct. It's the face mask. How many is here? 10? Yeah, there's 8. Yeah, there's 12, 10. Oh, you're right. 8. There's 10 Hall of Fame Steelers that have 4 rings.
Okay.
I have all their helmets signed with the actual helmet and the face mask they wore in their first Super Bowl ever. And the only one I don't have is Mike Webster because I'll never find this. Yeah.
There you go.
Let's get him to sign it.
So this is the type of stuff that I've had to deal with by staying here. So
Well,
Big Dog Willie won't even come down.
so when
He came down here once.
are you having nightmares in Steeler land?
not yet. You know why not yet? Because I got to wear these overalls yesterday.
Oh, you got all the love too.
And that's what was around yesterday. Obviously walking around like that. I got a lot of congratulations, which was surprising. They were like very happy that that Kansas City did not three-peat. So
Yeah, I think most of the league was pretty happy KC didn't.
You beat them worse than you beat us. That made us very happy.
So, yeah, that's exactly it. They were all very excited about that. But that's what I've been dealing with in this house. It's like he's got. I said it's like a museum in here.
No, that's amazing. I mean, that is an insane collection.
Yes, like I said, it's like I'm big on history. So like looking at all these pictures and like this one right here. For instance, when you look at the picture, look at that old Astro symbol.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, there's so much history there.
Yeah, that's like so cool. And it was 1979 where the Phillies didn't make it to the World Series. They won it in 1980. So it was like this was during the time when the Phillies and the Pirates actually had a good rivalry.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the ownership of the Pirates right now just don't want to invest the money.
Yeah,
they don't want to invest the money.
Unfortunately, the Pirates, they have the same problem our Mariners have. Now, the Mariners tend to be a little bit more competitive, but, I mean, we miss the playoffs all the time. We've been to the playoffs once in, 22, 23 years. And so it's frustrating because baseball could be more competitive than it is. But you have to have owners that want it to be competitive.
Right. Yeah. The problem is that they don't. It's all about money now. It's not about the team, and it's not about the fan, and that's the unfortunate part of this.
It's not even about winning.
Yeah.
You want to be just good enough that people go to the game.
Well, so that's those. I mean, obviously the Dodgers want to win. The Yankees want to win. The Red Sox want to win.
Yeah, but
the Phillies want to win.
There's only a handful of owners or ownership groups that are interested in it. The rest of them are just like, you know what? We can make money every year. And as a fan of those teams, it's frustrating. Especially like as a Mariners fan, it has been one of the most frustrating things because we develop talent very well. So we're the league's AAA team because we develop talent and then we send them away and they win a ring. And it's like, come on.
Well, no, and I get it. I mean, it's like I keep thinking of certain players that played there that, like, wasn't David Wells originally a Mariner?
I think he did play here. I don't know if he was originally. And Joe, nobody wants this negativity. Just no.
They did have a really cool logo. The fact that they changed away from that logo is a shame.
Trident.
No, the Astros. We're looking at the old Astros.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That was cool.
That was a cool logo.
Also, yes, the Trident was awesome. I
Trident.
Like
yeah, the Trident. Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah.
So he said that the Mariners is his second favorite baseball team.
And the Hawks.
And the Seahawks are his second favorite football team. I don't have second favorite, so I don't know anything about that, but he says that that's his.
Hey, if I didn't go to UW, that never would have happened, It's like when you're in that environment. I was there the year the Sonics won their only title. And that was like, you had to be there.
And he remembers when the Sonics won the title. You weren't alive then.
I was in college.
Yeah, no, that was a couple years before me. That was a couple years.
Yes.
Never forget that shit.
Yeah, and he coached in the Anchorage League. Alaska,
Oh, okay.
the Alaska League. It was out of Anchorage. It was like baseball. He coached baseball.
Wood bat league.
And it was all wood bat and everything. But that's kind of cool. Like, I'm like, they have baseball in Alaska? I guess so. Well, he's saying that, yeah, they used to have double and sometimes triple headers because they didn't have, it didn't get dark.
Yeah. No, so funny thing about that, I had a buddy of mine. He went to the northern part of Alaska, and he went up there, automotive, right? He had to go work on equipment and stuff. And he said it was a trip the first time he went up there because he's working and it was nice out, and he's like, it's starting to get late. They needed some parts, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll go to the depot and grab some parts. And then they looked down at their watch. It was like 3 a.m. and it was like twilight. And they're like, oh, I guess the depot's probably closed.
Right.
But they didn't know because it'd been light so long.
Right. It's because it doesn't stop being light. It's lights all the time. It's like when you go to Iceland, and in Iceland in the summertime, you can get a midnight tea time. And that's, I am definitely going to do that once. Like, I'm going to go to Iceland and do a midnight tea time. I want to go play golf at midnight. And you got to play with pink balls because you can't see it in the snow. White balls get lost in snow.
It's all good, Joe. It's all good. None of that stuff hurts my feelings. It's just me having fun with you, Joe.
Exactly. And until the Italians actually learn how to play a little bit of baseball, you don't have to worry about it.
And of course, we got Pags over there committing errors already.
Yeah. They just fell out of me. I knew it was coming, but I feel like if I touch it, then it'll turn off or whatever. I'll hang up on everybody or do something. It was just, I don't want to.
No, that is the worst. That's why I went back to having ones that wrap my ear. Because
I don't like them either. And the problem is that, like, when I have to wear these when I am painted up, if it wraps around my ear, now the whole thing is messy. Sure. So it's just, I'd rather just have the grommet be messy because that cleans up a lot nicer than everything else.
No, that makes sense. Like for me, because I'm always running around, I always feel like they're just falling out of my ears. And then of course, they're basically touch pads. So as soon as you try and put it back in, it hangs up the call and you're just like, this is dumb.
That's exactly correct. It's like I took them out of the package and put them in my ears, and one would turn on, one didn't. And I'm like, all right, take them out, put them back in the package, take them back out, put them in the package. Then the other one turns on. The other one, like, all right, take it out, put it back on. Then it says like ready to pair, but only one said ready to pair. The other one says it does not say anything. All right, let's try it again. The fourth time, oh, it works. How about that? So thank God that only took about 18 minutes of my life.
Yeah, I hate it when it's like the long pause and you're like, are they dead? Like, did they not charge? And then all of a sudden you get that connected and you're like, yes.
Exactly. Yeah, now I check because I want to know how much juice is in them. Because like, oh, am I at 40%? Am I at 100%? If I'm at 40%, that means somewhere in the middle of the show, I'm going to have to switch up. And that means I got to play with the phone because obviously I didn't want to try to log into Wi-Fi and all this other stuff. I just want to keep it easy. So,
Joe, yes, you guys are good at soccer. We'll give you that.
You are good at soccer. Yes, 100%. And every once in a while, basketball.
Yeah.
Against other European teams. Yep. I wouldn't put you up against the U.S. at all, but.
Well, and we're at the end of the show today, but tomorrow we will chat a little bit about KD saying that he didn't want to move, that he was he wants to be where he is. So we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. But since we're at the end of the show, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us bring our content to you. If you're watching on Roku TV, stay tuned for the next hour. And otherwise, have fun in Pittsburgh, man.
I appreciate it. I feel like I'm in a beehive or something with all the yellow and black that's around me here.
I mean, you know, do you just have one giant, terrible towel for a blanket?
That's Well, no, I have that, but that's hanging up in the window. Even the napkins.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So this is what I'm dealing with here. It's like,
Yeah, I have super fans here every game.
so he's like, everybody comes to his place. Like if you're a super fan in the NFL and you go to Pittsburgh, then you come stay with Troy. So
that is pretty great. That is pretty great. Well, if I make it out there, I got to take a tour of the place for sure.
Absolutely. Well, hey, listen, the draft will be here next year.
And you'll be here.
Yeah, that's right.
It was a big time.
So, yeah, we'll be able to maybe make something happen. Who knows? Get you out here to take a look in the tour of the, the Pittsburgh Museum of Sports.
Oh, it's good. This
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right on. Well, we will see you all tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in.